All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for March 25th, 2024. Start with the hybrid swing portfolio, 30-minute charts. And this is Alcoa. And today's, this was Friday's trade. This is the gap up to here. Continuation trade on a Kata 2, standard risk. Runs up for a while. When it tops out here, I take the exit and we got the VWAP fill, and that's about 1R. It was actually pretty good for a sideways narrow range day like today. AI. Yeah, so AI was a Kata 2 to the downside, and it sold off harshly on the 1, 2, 3 recovery after the R10 reverses. I took the 1, 2, 3 exit slightly before the edge of the dragon, or edge of the dragon, for about half an hour. Caterpillar tried a 1, 2, 3 entry, front run that a little bit, and lost a half an hour. I missed the opening sell-off. It didn't feel like a panic sell, and I was waiting for like a Kata 2 and gave it a try, and it just didn't work for half an hour loss. Cliff tried the 1, 2, 3 short after this peak and was selling hard, came through the VWAP, and I was playing for a return to the 5-day anchored VWAP, but it basically just went sideways for about 3.5 hours, so it just scratched. CVS, no trade. Diamonds, we got the collapsing dragon short when it crossed the 5-day anchored VWAP, and it gave us about half an hour on a slight grind. There was no evidence of runaway panic. Disney was a big gap up, and it had cleared, the resistance here. So this is an emerging dragon, and it moved a standard risk box up, so just speculated in, and then it closed pretty well all day and at the top of the day. So I like that one as 1R in hand, and I'm gonna hold that one overnight because it has recovered pretty well. Devon Energy, no trade. I missed the gap and go big time. Emerging markets, sideways chop, no trade. Ethereum, I took a 1, 2, 3 Kata 2 entry as it was crossing the Bollinger Band mean with a rising VWAP and well above the 5-period anchored VWAP. And that closed very well for 2R in hand. And it's ready to make a run tomorrow at the resistance level that's right here. So if it can break above 2750, up we go. And then that little blue streak you notice at the top, pull it down a little bit. That's the 10-period and 30-period anchored VWAP. So this is a reversion back to the previous fair value. So that really has a long way to go. This was a good leg up today. So I like the recovery in the crypto space there. Mexico, that was a bit of a sleigh ride up, then down. Then I took it as it crossed the dragon and the PSAR. For a while, I had more than 2R in hand, but just got hypnotized by it and let it slide back to break even. Just bad form right there. Brazil, sideways chop, no trade. Intel. Now, this one was a reversion to the mean kind of a trade. So it had been chopping around here. Today, there was a huge gap down to here, a quick bottom, and then rocketed up to here. First bar, second bar opens here, sells off, and then makes a new intraday high. And I treat that as a positive sign because this is my risk box and it's already moved 3 risk boxes off the low. So I just speculate in and it runs all the way up to here and then pulls back. I would not be offended if you took that exit. It made one more run at the 5-day anchored VWAP and it held up pretty well. So I'm holding 2R and I like this one for tomorrow to get back to the Bollinger Band mean right here in the high of the day. The 10-day, the 270, and the 30-day anchored VWAPs. I see those as the reversions to the mean that this thing is going to try to get to. And I like tech here. So tech has been lagging and it's time to play ball. IP. This is an emerging dragon continuation. I just held my nose and bought the 1, 2, 3 breakout because I've missed it the last 4 days. So it just held my nose and it closed pretty well, holding 2R overnight. IYR got short. I'm holding that one short. I needed something to counteract the longs, and this is real estate collapsing in front of our eyes. And it's pulling away from the 10-day and 30-day anchored VWAPs, and the river is down and it closed at the low of the day. So I kind of like that as a collapse. And I think it can get all the way back here to the 30-day low around 86.70. So I like that one on the short side. Coca-Cola, I just missed the sell-off and I missed the recovery. That's a perfect V kind of day that would allow some really good trading. If we look at that on the 3-minute, you'll notice that that was a very orderly move in both directions with a very clear extreme move away from the VWAP here just after lunch. And then there's the VWAP magnet trade. And I just missed both directions on that one. Span of control issue. This is regional banks, no trade. McDonald's missed the short. I like this as a potential stocking area for tomorrow because the last time it was in this region, it had a couple 3 days of really good moves. So at some point it'll be considered to be on sale, and I think it's pretty close right now. I like McDonald's. Merck missed the emerging dragon breakout. Microsoft missed the short. Marijuana, I did get the 1, 2, 3 breakdown, standard risk short, and it just got smoked to the downside for about 3R. And that's typical of an intraday move with MSOS, which is the #1 trading value symbol in our stack because of its reliable large percentage moves. So that's sort of a default position right there. Nike, no trade. NVIDIA. I've been scared of my own shadow on this one and only getting the intraday pieces and missing the steps in between. Today, even that didn't work because I got in after a 1-2 up, and then it didn't follow through, and I took a 1R loss here. I just have not been able to get my mind wrapped around NVIDIA. Clean energy. Tried the short just like marijuana, but it's scratched. Palantir. Well, I tried the 1, 2, 3 long, took an R loss. It reversed off of after it bottom ticked me here off the 5-day anchored VWAP, and I re-entered the position. And I should have exited, but I was just bitter about that loss. Couldn't process it. Didn't do that very well. This should have been an exit, but I'm holding that one overnight, and we'll see if I'm punished for it. As I look at this, it still has the feeling of a Kata 2. It's had 2 or 3 chances to fail from this price level, and it hasn't. In fact, all it's done from this price level was one time move up to here. So I like Palantir for the long run as an AI participant, and it just feels like I'm buying it at a reasonably priced level. And if we can get some tech and AI juice in the market, this thing has a chance to do really well, like getting back up to 27.50. So I'm treating this like I'm still on the favorable side of value. And I just didn't like the way I played that exit. Rivian, we got a piece on the short side, played that one correctly. SOUN, I've just missed the last 2 days of selling, but this is now coming into what I would consider to be a value region. The last time it was here, it made this nice run. It's been grinding down, and then this may be a collapsing sell-off here around 586. So we'll see. We're at the 30-day anchored VWAP. This would be a natural place for the buyers to come in just like they did over here, and we'll see what we can get. And there's the 270 anchored VWAP. So this does feel like a place where you could expect some support and some buying, but 2 times it's really found buying support at this level. So that's what I'm planning for. We'll see how that works. I'm stalking it. I don't have a position in it yet. Tesla, slow grind up. I missed it. Walmart, the big gap down and sell off. I did get a hold of that one. Sold it when it bounced back to the edge of the dragon for about an R. U.S. Steel speculated in for an emerging dragon, if you will. Looks something like this on the breakout above the PSAR flip. This is such a narrow channel that the normal wide 50-cent stop looks enormous, but that's okay. And then finally, XLI traded really well. Now, I want you to notice that when you get signals on the 30-minute, remember this one is coming off right at that corner, and then the recovery signal is when the R10 rolls up and you take the exit at the edge of the dragon. If we drop down to the 3-minute chart, this is where you get those signals. If we size this for that time, you're getting the signal to go short right about there when it breaks down a second leg to the that's about where you're getting the signal, below this collapsing dragon. And the 30-period chart doesn't signal your exit essentially until you get over to this green region here, which is after the sell-off tests low twice and then crosses the Bollinger Band mean the second time in the late afternoon. So you actually get a pretty straightforward trade. You could even take that in 2 stages with a cover here and then a reshort there, which might even be a little better. And that's an extremely wide stop. Like your stop on the 3-minute could be as low as here and still be in good shape because you have a 13-cent R10 on this, and that's about 13 cents right there. Okay. So the point being here is that the 30-minute chart does give you some good guidance on where you want to be short and where you want to cover at. And then when you dial that down to the 3-minute chart, you're actually in pretty good shape. All right, let's go to the 3-minute sniper trades of the day. All right, this one is in EWW. And this one is kind of a routine opening. I missed the hybrid trade up, but I did take the recovery trade and the reversion to the mean. When it comes back after the R10 reverses, and the VWAP rolls over and it has crossed the VWAP, I like taking it at the skin of the dragon, which is a good exit if you get the hybrid entry long here. That's a really good exit. So that makes it a really good entry short. And then I took this exit here at the skin of the dragon after the R10 reversed. And that's about just under an R. Now this rolls over short of the VWAP and short of this collapsing PSAR. So now when it crosses the dragon and crosses the Bollinger Band mean, that's a standard short. And then here's your risk. And then this sells off hard. Here's your R10. Here's where the winter turns to spring. So I hit my exit here. I got filled here. And this is about just under 2R. I then play the Kata 2 after it crosses the Bollinger Band mean. Once again, standard risk. And this thing goes through the VWAP like it wasn't even there. So that would have made something like this a potential second entry. I didn't. I just took the exit at the PSAR where I'm supposed to. And then it holds support at the VWAP. So I re-enter, and then that one pays off 1.5R. So this turned out to be a pretty nice series on the routine 3-minute trading with EWW. This is about 1. That's about 1.5. This is about 1, and that's about 1.5. So that gives you somewhere around 4R for the day on these guys. Okay. XLI is looking, or EWW looks very, very tradable to me. This one is DIA. Now this is, on the other hand, it was such a narrow range day. Here was Friday's close. Here was the open. Here was the OR3. Here was the OR3 short with the standard 40-cent risk in DIA as it crossed below the VWAP. Basically a scratch. It couldn't really break through in a sustained way through the VWAP, so I got short at the PSAR flip. It scratched. It couldn't even get through the Bollinger Band mean, but it showed no interest in breaking down, so I speculated one last time on the PSAR flip to the upside with the standard risk, and that scratch, and I said, okay, I get it, and left DIA for the day. It was an extremely narrow range day, which is good for the market tomorrow, by the way. Its failure to fail today is actually a good sign. And now here's the final one was in ETHE. This is one like Bitcoin that had sold off hard. This was a gap up. Here's your little emerging dragon entry. PSAR exit for 1, 2, 3. Sideways chop. Breaks above the Bollinger Band mean, above the dragon. So I speculate in standard risk. PSAR exit for, this is 2R. This is 3R. That's what 5R looks like in Ethereum. And it closed pretty well for the day. So I like that one. Look at the traders now. This is Eugene's work, and you should go to the chat room and download it and study his attention to detail. So this is a 5-minute. He's using an OR5 on Bitcoin. And here's today. It opens for trading here. He gets the OR5 here, standard risk, gets paid, re-enters, exit, gets paid, re-enters, does a quick scratch. All of that leads to about 3.3 R out of that series. If he just uses the PSAR as an exit from this entry on that much risk, he stays in all the way until here, and that would give him 5.6. So there's times when these measured moves allow you to lock in pieces, And then there's other times to just sort of respect that PSAR. And that's the eternal challenge. But really nice work with his markup and notes to self. Now, a whole series from Ilker. He meant to put his short marker. He's actually short right here. He covers here. He gets reshort here and covers here and then gets long here for 1.5 and then -1. So he gets 0.5 out of this set. The other trade potential was there. -1 on Alcoa. That's a really tight stop. There's not really a technical signal about why that's a reason to get out. But if you're using that, and it continues, you get a massive trade. But on a sideways choppy day, you're going to see a lot of quick 1-hour losses on this one. So -1 on Alcoa. You get 0.3 on the favorable side. Now, this is one where if you're going to be that tight on the stop, at this point, you were almost 2R in hand right here. And letting this come all the way back to just 0.3 could be hard on your emotional resilience. So just be mindful of that. Scratch in AMD, -0.8 in the Aussie. This is one that actually does correlate to a technical reason to get out, which is the hitting the PSAR. Caterpillar gives him 1R of a gain, and this is a case, so conversely, where that tight stop is not anchored to a technical signal on the 30-minute, but it does give you a chance to make an R on the other side. So, this is a case it worked out for him. Devon, I might have even cut that sooner because you had 2 full hours where it's supposed to fail and it didn't. And we might have been able to get out of that sooner. -1 on this one. Then there's a 1, 2, 3 recovery trade. This is so early during the day, and you saw my other markers in there. EWW is one that I believe that you can trade on both 3 minutes and 30 minutes. In fact, after an early gap up and go, which fails, it's so early in the day that you might actually find that as a reversal signal, and then this one as a go long signal, and that would equate to the trades that we showed earlier in the trade of the day. Cliff, good job in here. Got what was available. This is another one where in this case, the PSAR does act as a technical signal to get out. So CVS it didn't fail far enough and take the 1-hour loss like you're supposed to. McDonald's, this is one where there was certainly an earlier opportunity to get in, especially when you see the size of that gap. A gap of that size says it's in play, and therefore we might be able to, if we put our risk box here, we might be able to get that short. Then that becomes a nice trade, and then I'd be very tempted for this on the long side. And certainly I'll be ready for that tomorrow. Good work all the way through here in the early stages, but Tesla is very tradable, and there were 3 additional moves that would have paid off and made a difference in the day. The continuation trade to the downside, ouch, from yesterday. And then today's work, it's supposed to work right away. When it doesn't, I think you can take that exit at the VWAP and save a few pennies per share. Just no follow through. Same thing on this one. On Nike, I'd have been very tempted on the reversal trade for like a 1, 2, 3 right about here, which would make it a good exit for the short. So if that short doesn't work, the skin of the dragon is not a bad exit. This one is Jonathan on Tesla. And let's see. He gets short here, takes the scratch, gets this. Now, when this rolls over, I want you to notice a high, a lower high. We are below the VWAP. The dragon is sloping down, and we're crossing the Bollinger Band main and leaving the dragon. I think you could make a strong argument that you could be short right there for all of those reasons. This is still pretty good. And what you're getting is the CD because of the violation of the R10 pivot. And that turns out to be a decent move. After this turning point, the only way to improve that might have been if you could get this one at the skin of the dragon or even the spine of the dragon. Still, that's pretty good. And then waiting for confirmation of the PSAR flip. I would like, that's basically a scratch. That's fine. This is a good recovery, and this is an even better re-entry continuation, which gets paid. So 1.23, pretty good work in Tesla all the way around. George gets a fraction out of NVIDIA, loses a fraction on EEM. It was even less volatile than the market. So that's just the nature of the market today. That was like DIA was also extremely compressed. I take a lack of selling on a Monday as a favorable sign in this kind of a raging bullish market, that there was a lot of folks who were thinking hard about selling over the weekend and then they didn't. There wasn't a lot of buying pressure, but this still looks pretty favorable. And I do think it's time for tech to start picking up the pace a little bit because we saw XLI slide. And I think it's time tech, especially that little washout recovery in Intel, gives me some favorable feelings for tomorrow. I would not be surprised to see strength in tech. We'll go to the daily report now. All right, so we had like a 1, 2, 3 move today, and this would be a natural place to find support at the 5-day anchored VWAP. This would be a natural place to make a recovery move and go. I still think you have to have your stop not lower than the PSAR flip right there. I just think that's got to be in play. Let's see, right about, right there at the PSAR or the 10 or the 5, that's the 10-day anchored VWAP or the spine of the dragon. Any one of those three is okay. You just can't let it come all the way back to 510. And this gives us the, the 1, 2, 3 formation. So if this holds, we get a nice recovery. Let's watch those sector spiders and see where the strength is. My spider sense says be ready for tech, because I think maybe XLI is due for a pause. There's the S&P on that 30-minute, and that is failure to fail further. That's really pretty strong support above the 5-day anchored VWAP. So I like that. Oops, let's see. We still have bullish normal, strongly overbought longer term. This last 2 days of sideways chop and a little bit of a loss has put it at a 2-day low, but it's not painful on a 10-day. So this might be just enough to gather some momentum to go. That's what I look at. Otherwise, bullish strong, risk on, favorable volatility. I like this as a base for the next leg up this week. Where was the strength in the Dow today? In Disney, Devon Energy, ExxonMobil, Verizon, NVIDIA, Merck. So a pretty mixed bag. Maybe there's some residual energy in energy after, but I just think tech is postured. And where did we have strength in the ETFs today? Let's see. Agriculture, just missed the boat on that one. And energy looking pretty good. Handful of auto framers. And the most interesting one to me is the Dow at 3.2 to 1. That's my index of choice. Auto framer, quite today's very narrow range is always going to produce a lot of auto framers that test out favorably. There's some good names that we can be ready to exploit coming out of the quietude. Johnson & Johnson and McDonald's, DIA, real estate. There may be some more pain and suffering in real estate, although the sell-off has been considerable. Even the S&P is in a favorable squeeze. I like that. No panic there. Being dominated by the summer, an equal number in the fall. Straightforward. This one, that really showed the weakness, by the way, in in real estate. There's that. Yeah. The weakness in real estate here, being in the winter. That's why I think there may be more of a downward slide in that. There was no buying interest whatsoever, and it was just routine sell-off, just no interest in it yet. In the NDXs, still quite a few moments of weakness here. Energy being the sole bright spot. Devon Energy, ExxonMobil and Merck, Chevron, Tesla, one of the few non-energy bright spots, US Steel even. So we'll see. Tomorrow should be an interesting turnaround Tuesday, as Bob Gardner used to like to call them. Quick sell-off and then a recovery, a raging buying session. Wouldn't mind seeing that. And still in the usual shape here. Holding support above the river. The RL90 health is actually starting to slowly improve. The 30 is slowly improving. The 10 was basically nothing today. All right, that's everything for today. We'll get this published and posted and be ready for them tomorrow.